you understand.
Hey everybody, I'm Tony Jones, and welcome to the Tony Jones Show.
People are willing to take the risk. It's just sort of a herd mentality, a lemming-like mentality. If you don't go with the flow, you're anti-American and therefore a suspect.
The Tony Jones Show, featuring punk, rockabilly, psychobilly, and Providence, Rhode Island's finest, starts right now.
He's a dangerous militia member, I hear. Oh, and there she blows.
Friends, the time for mediocrity and broadcasting is over. My name is Tony Jones, and you are tuned in to the Tony Jones Show, your destination for talk and rock, online at TonyJones.org, Facebook.com/Tony Jones Show, on the almighty Twitter at Tony Jones in RI. Be sure to go to RIFreeRadio.org. With me, as always, is my occasional co-host, Mr. George Garner. George, good evening.
Good evening.
DJ Psycho Eddie is here, of course, doing intense show prep getting ready for My Night Out Radio. He's a man on a mission. He's got like 20 screens up, calling in sources from all over the globe, doing research, as I have done a ton of research here, as you could see from my what are these called? Index cards. That's the profession.
Cards, sticky notes.
I used to use sticky notes. I've moved up to index cards here.
Didn't we used to call that scrap paper?
I figured I have multiple thousands of dollars in student loan debt. I should at least start using index cards. A few things happened this week. They made me feel young again. So I want to talk about that in just a little bit. And we have some parties coming up. Some big parties coming up, and we're going to talk about that in just a little bit. And I have to mention at the top of the hour that if you're here locally, there's a movie in town. They're in need of extras. The movie's called Polka King. It is starring Jack Black. It's filming all throughout Rhode Island. They need extras, but they need extras that are fresh faces. So they need people that haven't been in the movie yet. So if you're interested in some extra work, it's polkaldi@gmail.com. Polka, Polka, like the horrible Polish music. LDI as in LDI casting @gmail.com.
Now, does that give us a clue as what the movie is about?
I haven't read the full synopsis, but it's a pretty big budget film that's happening right now in Rhode Island. And they've, at one point, I think we've talked about this before. At one point, they were trying to turn Rhode Island kind of into Hollywood East.
Right.
And that's kind of waned off a little bit, especially when they go through the SAG folks first. Not SAG as in my male breasts. SAG is in the Screen Actors Guild.
Right.
They have a certain amount of SAG people they need, and they don't have the infrastructure for that yet here in Rhode Island.
In other words, what do you mean by that? Elucidate just a bit.
So because because this is a big budget movie,
right?
It's a union movie,
right? So
they have to offer it to the Screen Actors Guild first.
Okay.
But there's not many Screen Actors Guild members here in Rhode Island, so that's when they start going into the into the dregs, if you will, and just they'll take anybody.
But why did the wave of Rhode Island filmatic creativity wane? In having to do with that, is there a connection? I
think part of it had to do with there was a tax bonus for you to film here that is now gone.
Okay,
and there was also a state level kind of like a cabinet position that's now gone, but. I mean, location-wise, where else can you be in a city and then down by the ocean 15 minutes later?
Yeah, basically. Yeah, so it has its appeal. It's just that those artificial incentives are gone.
I worked on a movie, a big-name movie, and called Underdog, which was a remake of the old Underdog cartoon, and it was filming at Club Hell in Providence. Next door to Club Hell was a small coffee shop. And they made so much money during that 6 months that they actually closed down the business and moved somewhere else. Because they were the only place open while this filming was happening.
Now, that Underdog, though, wasn't a big success. Is that something to do with it, too, that most of the films that have been shot in Rhode Island haven't been successful?
Yeah, there's been a handful. I think Rhode Island is still more known for independent features just because there's such a huge independent scene. And also you can film here and screen in New York and screen in Boston fairly easily and move it into some of the bigger markets.
Actually, if you look at it, you had the Farrelly brothers that came from Rhode Island, and they did stuff like Something About Mary.
Yeah, but that was 20
Dumb
years.
and Dumber.
That was 20 years ago.
Well, it was 20
Outside
years ago
Providence.
when the incentives were there for everyone to do it in Rhode Island. But I mean, you still have all the locations. They still have some of the people that are still around that can kind of sort of act. But then again, this is Rhode Island, so everyone. They've got something coming in, or they want something to line their hands to let it happen.
Yeah. No, it's just that the last couple of movies I can remember that were actually released theatrically and were actually had some shots filmed in Rhode Island was Amistad and that other Leonardo DiCaprio movie, Meet Joe Black.
27 Dresses did well, also featuring Tony Jones as a bartender. And about to be released is the story of... I can't think of his name now, the boxer. I used to run into him drunk at Bickford's all the time.
Oh, that one, Pazienza.
Yes. His life story is going to be out there pretty soon, and that they brought in Scorsese for that, all filmed in Rhode Island, using they used some of the actual locations where the actual things happened, which I thought was cool. So that should be a little bit of a boost to the film industry here.
Yeah, as long as they don't let Pazienza actually open his mouth in real life. And, Yeah, he does a better job than Donald Trump of sinking his own career.
You could blame it on the head injury. Let's get back to the tunes now. We're going to hear from the now defunct October Accord. One of my favorite tunes from them. Here's Cheap Shot of the Year. Last Night, the name of that one, Locals Coma right here on the Tony Jones Show. Before that, we heard from the now defunct October Accord, Cheap Shot. The name of that track, Cheap Shot of the Year, the name of the EP. Tony Jones here. You were tuned into the Tony Jones Show. George Garner is here. DJ Psycho Eddie is here. And, you know, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. However, did you watch any of the, Eddie, you probably didn't. George, you probably did. Did you watch any of the Democratic convention this past week?
I did watch some of it, as much as my stomach could stand.
I do believe that Bill Clinton may be a reptilian.
I'll tell you.
Homeboy's looking rough, huh?
He's looking rough, but he's hanging in there. More like a Terminator machine. He just won't die.
Every time they cut to him, I mean, I cringed a little. I mean, I remember the Bill Clinton of old, you know, the Bill Clinton that was up there when I was a kid doing kind of crazy stuff.
Yep, the virile sexual predator. Yeah.
The hound, if you will, you know. He was chasing down fatties. I mean, and now he just looks like old skin with a suit hanging on it.
Yeah, he is determined to get back in the White House, though, and revisit old glories. You know, he just wants to go back and sniff around under that desk one more time.
You know, I think we talked about it on your show, or maybe it was Chuckle's show, but the very fact that Hillary Clinton, should she be elected president, will be working where that transpired.
Yes, we did mention it, yeah.
That's insane when you really think about it.
It is. I mean, can't you just picture her legs crawling? You know, as she sits at that desk.
She might just redo the whole office to kind of get away from all that.
Yeah, definitely relocate the desk.
1 year ago today, to this very day, one of my favorite professional wrestlers passed away, Rowdy Piper.
Well, already?
It's been a year
already.
already.
A year.
It's been a year.
That's one of the times where I think we talked about it before. I kicked myself in the butt. You know, we were doing Rock and Shock 1 year. Piper was appearing, but we were busy with our booth. We were kind of busy doing our thing at the convention, and I kept telling myself, I'll get over there to meet Piper this weekend. You know, I'll get over there.
Right.
Never got over there.
If it'll make you feel any better, though, that environment there isn't really the place where you want to meet personal favorites and legends.
Well,
in other words, it's such an artificial environment. You know what I'm saying? It's not like you ran into him in a bar and said, "Hey, Roddy, I'll buy you a beer." You know, it's so artificial. It's not the same thing.
And I think it was you that brought it to my attention years back, the fact that the best part of these conventions don't happen at the conventions.
Right. It's running into people
Yeah.
outside the conventions. Exactly.
I did we did the Toy and Comic Show, not this past year, the year before, and I stayed at the hotel there, and I got to break bread and have breakfast with Little Felix, the original cousin It. So
there you go.
For whoever walked into the hotel that morning, saw myself and a midget breaking bread, all pie-eyed because we were up late the night before and just hanging out and having a good time.
Yeah, no, I can't recommend that enough. If you go to a multi-day convention, I mean, it's not even worth it to go unless you make sure that you're there overnight and you basically scope out the after-hours places.
Well, what I have a pretty good experience with Rhode Island Comic Con because I always do the after parties afterwards because that's where you get to sit down with people like Michael Jai White. I had a chance to sit down with him and his wife. He's the one who coined the term that I use a lot, wifeager, half wife, half manager. I've actually met Felix Silla, Buck Rogers, Gil Gerard, and the original Captain America, Reb Brown, were 1, 2, 3 in a row. And first day at Comic-Con, and this is going back a few years, that I'm just walking by in full clown getup. So Gil Gerard starts busting my chops, so I stop busting back.
Right.
And then Felix chimes in, and then for the rest of the weekend, as you're walking by, hey, you're fat, hey, you're old. And we had this camaraderie going for the weekend. And Reb Brown now, every time I see him, he goes out of his way to say hi to me instead of me playing fanboy and having to go out and shake his hand.
Right. Now, the other thing to think of or keep in mind as a veteran convention goer is when you do meet someone that you want to talk to on the convention floor, either paying the $20 for the privilege or they just happen to be walking along, don't mention what they're most known for.
Right.
just don't do that. If you want this person to think of you as anything but a crawling cockroach.
Because if you're also doing the convention, hopefully they think of you as a peer. Now, that might not be the case if you're fanboying out.
Well, when it comes to conventions, I think I've explained this to someone else. Now, you have the professionals, whether, if it's at the Comic-Con, you have the actors and the artists. If it's at one of the writers' conferences, you have the writers and the fans. For the celebrities, there's two separate, threads of conversation. There's the thread of conversation that the celebrities use among themselves, and there's the thread of conversation the celebrities use with the fans.
Right.
The two are patented. Okay. If your goal as someone that wants to actually get them to see you as a human being is to break out of that pattern. In other words, interest them in a way that, like you touched on, that they don't look at you as fanboy.
Exactly.
And the way to do that is, like I say, don't mention whatever it is they're most known for. Don't mention, in other words, mention something you have a sincere interest in their career that's obscure.
Well,
that's, in other words, not to be too, not to what would you say, not to be too intentional about it. In other words, you want it to be spontaneous.
Yeah.
But for example, when I met Doug Bradley, who played Pinhead in Hellraiser, I struck up a conversation with him about a couple of the portraits he had taken out of character. And all of a sudden, he was a different person. So, yeah, something other than the obvious. That's something other than the obvious.
And those before and after buffer times are when you get to find out, for better or for worse, it may kill you in your heart of hearts, who's there because they want to be there, they enjoy it, and who's there because they got to eat.
Okay, I'll make that really easy for everybody listening. George Romero wants to be there.
Right.
Everyone else is there because they want to eat.
And Robert Englund. It's actually usually the folks with the longer lines are there because they enjoy being there. They're taking the time. And then you have the folks that want to have a cheeseburger.
Hence the longer lines. Yeah, that makes sense.
No, I like the people that have the longer lines. When you see them walking away from their booth, and they'll actually stop at another booth or just stop at one of the local vendors. I had an opportunity to meet Eddie McClintock from Warehouse 13, and as he was walking by, I just, hey, Eddie, how you doing? And I have nothing in common with this man except for the first name. And by the time he was done, he took pictures with me, didn't charge me to take pictures. I gave him a T-shirt, and, we're not best of friends again, but we get to talk. Also, in fact, I think I introduced her to you last year, Tony, Gremlina.
Oh, yeah.
Sandy, she's a pistol. She's only about 4 foot nothing. She was in the original Glow series, Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling. Funny as hell. And as soon as you start talking to her about anything other than wrestling, she just lights right up.
My point exactly.
And it was great. I mean, I talk to her on Facebook all the time. We actually make plans to either meet up for breakfast or lunch or drinks or something, either during the convention or just before, just after.
Right.
And it definitely makes the convention worth going to.
Right.
To have that connection.
Right. Now you really strike gold when you are there to see somebody who you really want to see, but they don't have much of a following.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Like, for example, a few Rockin' Shocks ago, one of my favorite horror movies of all time is Suspiria. And there was a cast member from Suspiria. And at the same time, the line for a few celebrities was out the door. She was chit-chatting with a couple of diehard fans, and that was it.
Yeah.
So it's that's striking gold.
Oh, yeah.
In other words, they want somebody to talk to, and you're more than happy to meet this person. So,
and
awesome.
then you see the people that don't want to be there, and they're walking around looking like a reptilian Bill Clinton. See how I brought that full circle?
Yeah, I'll tell you, Tony. Who would you say in all the conventions you've gone to? Who do you think was obvious that they most did not want to be there?
Yeah, I've seen some professional wrestlers at various conventions, and I don't think it's necessarily the fact that they don't want to be there. It's that these guys are in so much pain from wrestling that sitting on that steel chair all day
right makes them want to hit somebody with
just
it.
is probably physical agony for them.
Good point.
I've seen guys that can barely walk that are making it to their booth trying to make it through the day.
Right.
I agree with Tony with that. Usually the professional wrestlers I ran across two of them. One of them I'm not going to name, but he is one of the Samoans.
Uh-huh.
I'll leave it at that. And he was miserable SOB. As soon as I saw, I just walked up to him before the con even started. I got my vendor ID on, and I just said, "Hey, how you doing?" He wouldn't even talk to me. He made his handler talk to me. That was number one. Number two, I am going to call out by name because I don't care. Virgil, remember the $1 Million Man and Virgil?
Yes, the biggest non-entity ever to
That's
grace
right.
WWE
Didn't
circles.
he tell you guys to do less charity work?
Yeah, he's
I think that's what he told Chuckles the Clown. Yeah.
Oh no! Actually, it was.
Oh, was that
it
you
was
that
directed at me. Me and Chuckles were standing side by side.
Okay.
And he said, "Well, what's your show about?" And I explained the Chuckles and Laughs show, the TV show. And as we're talking, I mentioned that it is a nonprofit and everything we do is for charity.
Right.
And he went on probably about a 10, 15-minute tirade on how you got to get paid for everything you do, and you got to get paid. And he's telling me how much his car costs, how much his house costs, how much he gets paid from the University of God Only Knows.
University of Phoenix Online.
But he's telling me all this, and the only thing I got in the back of my head is, would you just shut the hell up so I can walk away? And as he was in the middle of his tirade, I just interrupted, said, "Oh, yeah, that's great." I turned around and walked away. And he literally was 10 feet away from our table, was his,
Right.
for that whole, well, he was only there for the one day.
Uh-huh.
It was a 2-day convention.
Uh-huh.
At the end, I just... 10 feet away. I wouldn't even look at him. He wouldn't look at us because he knew
Damn.
exactly what we thought of him.
Right.
And the next day, he wasn't even there.
You think it's the so-called celebrities with the least accomplishments that have the biggest problem?
I've seen
the
that
reason
quite a
that they're
bit,
only
yeah.
there is because they needed to fill a table, and
you know
were
it.
free that weekend.
And you know it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's get back to the music now. We have some events coming up. We'll talk about that. And the two things, I can't forget this, the two things that, well, they made me feel young again. But up next, we're going to hear from 30 Silver. They're going to be at Firehouse 13 on August 14th, which is a Sunday. However, now that I'm living the self-employed dream, actually Sunday shows work out for me. I love going out Sunday nights, and you just have your run of the place because, well, you're the only loser that can go out on Sundays. So we're going to hear from 30 Silver up next. Dark and Sinister Man, Have It Thee. You heard it right here on The Tony Jones Show. Wild and Fuzzy, the name of that one. It's the Ghastly Ones right here on the Tony Jones Show. Before that, 30 Silver. They'll be at Firehouse 13 on Sunday, August 14th. Dark and Sinister Man, Have at Thee, the name of that one. Tony Jones here. You are tuned into the Tony Jones Show. TonyJones.org, Facebook.com/Tony Jones Show. On the almighty Twitter at Tony Jones NRI. George Garner is here. DJ Psycho Eddie is here. I got to let you all know that the Tony Jones Show is now available on Google Play. So if you're a Google Play user or if you're listening via podcast in a different format, you're more comfortable with Google Play. Google Play is the place for you, along with iTunes, Spreaker, Podcast DE. Pretty much if there's a place for you to access streaming content, we're there. So check us out. But, of course, we appreciate those of you who check us out live each and every week. George, Eddie, 2 events happened this week in quote-unquote pop culture, if you will, that made me feel young again.
And they were?
The first one being Discord Records releasing all of their content onto Bandcamp. Now, we've talked about it before. Lifelong music collector. I have CDs stacked up all over the place, 7 inches, stuff that I've decided to hold on to because it's rare.
Right.
Actually, some of the stuff in the Discord catalog, which is now available, it's not so rare anymore. I can bring it down to Salvation Army because it's now available streaming online.
Yeah, free up some room.
And it's surprising that this is actually the first time that this has happened where, a more obscure label has decided we'll take the whole catalog, we'll make it available online.
Well, probably because they decided they're not so obscure anymore. I mean, it's amazing the amount of stuff that I thought was a rarity. And then you just look at the internet universe and you find out that, there's plenty of it out there.
And it's someone else out there thinks it sucks, and they've decided to put their copy up on eBay.
Right.
So now this thing that I've wanted so bad, it's available in, it's going to be on my doorstep in 2 days.
Right, and this is everything. This is music, this is books, this is cars, this probably spaceships. Everything.
Submarines have been listed on eBay.
Well, as well they should be. I mean, we have such an oversupply here in the United States.
Now, the other thing that happened this week that I'm very excited about because, well, we've talked about the maturity level around here, is that MTV will have a retro channel. What used to be VH1 Classics is now going to be MTV Retro. You'll have your Beavis and Buttheads. You'll have your Jackasses. You'll have your Darias, all just Ren and Stimpy. All the stuff from the 90s that I just love that... All
right, let me stop you right there, though. Now, how does that make you feel young? In other words, whenever I hear a song that's now classic rock when it used to be regular rock, I mean, that doesn't... that shouldn't make you feel young. That should be, oh, my God.
Because I pretend that I'm just still in my heyday.
You are.
I'm still in that heyday. Well, no, we're much more excited to the fact that it's available. But, however, I think it's especially Beavis and Butthead. First of all, I wasn't allowed to watch Beavis and Butthead after they burnt something down or blew it up. So Beavis and Butthead holds a very special place in my heart.
Okay, so that's actually I think you've hit on something there. That's probably how we can afford to feel younger watching these retro shows because we've just created new heydays. See, most people just have one. Back in my heyday, that was only an early heyday. We have new ones. So, yeah, we can look without... Yeah. Kind
of like when they put out different software and it's 2.0 and 2.1 and 3.0, 10 and Vista.
Right.
This is heyday. I don't know. I'm up there. This is like...
Heyday 10.5.
This is like heyday 100 for me at this point.
I would actually like to see... And I don't know how you guys feel about this, but if MTV would actually get back to some music.
Well, they had MTV2, which was supposed to be that, and not the fact.
And then they clogged that with all
now
regular
TV.
TV.
They have MTVU, which is supposed to be a college channel.
Right.
And that's mostly
that
TV.
With, how I was a teenage mom and crap like that.
But think about Beavis and Butthead, the fact that they actually had full music videos on the program.
I'm sure if you search the internet, you can find all those Beavis and Buttheads. Trust me, for a person who searches the internet as much as I do for non-porn related.
We saw what happened earlier today when you typed in "you" into your search bar, and I'll just leave it there.
I did not say I was a saint by any stretch of the imagination.
You mean
And yes.
spelling it E-W-E, of course, right?
No, I typed in Y-O-U and you porn instead of YouTube comes up
See, I
as
wasn't
the
gonna go
first selection. So I am not a saint by any stretch of the imagination. However,
Don't get your fingerprints on that computer.
that's why it's a touch screen with saran wrap over it. But no, MTV started off as music videos, music television. It's in the name. Every incarnation, MTV2, MTVU, can they just put some damn music back on the air?
All right, I think I might have the answer to why they can't. Because the music video's time has come and gone.
Yeah.
Talk about a heyday. I mean, music video has had its heyday. Music video has actually been replaced by reality television.
But I'm saying, almost every band out there is still making music videos for their music.
Yeah, but who the hell wants to watch them? I mean, seriously, really, even my favorite bands, if they come up with first of all, the universe of music videos is limited creatively, okay? Really. I mean, except, every now and then you get something like your Michael Jackson's Thriller, that's an exception.
Yeah.
I mean, 99% of all music videos are limited creatively. The other thing is, if my favorite band comes up with a video, I'm more likely not to take the time to sit there and watch it. I'm more likely to, surprise, surprise, just listen to it.
True, and I will give you that. However, the way I'm looking at it, with the attention span that most people in society have right now, 2 to 3 minute songs is only all the attention span that most of these people have.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So if you've got a 30-minute program and you have a 2 to 3 minute attention span, first commercial, they're changing the channel anyways.
Right.
So either turn all your reality shows into 2 to 3 minute segments and break it up, or just do the music videos.
Okay, speaking of that now, how long is a typical music video? Now, when we talk about
how long is a typical song?
Well, that's what my question is these days. In other words, I haven't really thought about it in a long time.
I'm going to say about 4 to 5 minutes is what I usually run across.
All right, then maybe that's another answer. Too long for a music video. Too long to sit there and watch a music video.
All right, I will give you that. So what we're going to do is we're going to have to start a movement. Shorten your songs, make more videos, and get a music video channel.
Right. Get a music video channel.
Because
shorten your songs to about
2.5
minutes, 2 to 3 minutes. That works. And the other thing is, you need an infusion of creativity.
Well, creativity coming
And
from
by which
musicians. Hopefully, there is already in place a little creativity.
Yeah, but not when it comes. I'll tell you.
Not the ones getting paid.
Well, I think there's a little bit of a gap there between video and video and audio talent. In other words, a lot of great bands made really crappy videos.
Yeah, they did.
Well, I'll give you that.
I mean, they couldn't get out of standing up there on a stage with a camera running.
Well,
Seriously, they bought very expensive cameras and very expensive stage clothes. But it was still them just standing there.
I mean, even if you look at, and if you have high-def TV or you pay the extra money to get the high-def channels on cable, they have this channel called Palladia.
Right.
And all they do is broadcast concerts.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, personally, I've watched more concerts that I wish I could have gone to in person, and I've seen them on Palladia, and awesome coverage because, of course, it's in high def, full screen. I got the 42-inch, 52-inch, whatever the hell it is in my living room. You almost feel like you're there. You turn on the surround sound, it's almost better. In fact, it is better than going to the concert because I can pause it, go get a beer, come back, and keep watching.
Right. Now, if we go to our own Mardi Gras up the street here in the rock room, they actually play live concerts in between bands at the live concert venue.
Right, to try to get you to stay there and listen to the live bands half the time.
Well, if you're not we've talked about this 100 times on the air. If you're not spoon-feeding people more entertainment, keep them occupied, they are going to leave.
Right.
So that's Mardi Gras just takes people by the hand.
Right.
Okay, live music isn't on right now, so let's give you a pseudo live version of whatever song you actually want to hear.
Right. That concert channel, that's a great product. That's a great idea.
I love it.
On the other hand, it's going to be too niche, however you pronounce that.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, for MTV. And like I say, I think you hit it when you said 2-minute videos.
Yeah.
That would work. 2-minute videos, commercials. 2-minute videos, commercials.
And keep it going.
And keep it
going.
Moving.
Right.
I mean, even in the modern dance music, when they have like the 5-minute, 6-minute introduction to that song, people rambling and just talking. Shut up. Get to the music.
Well, there's certain substances that are in play in that situation that makes that appealing.
I'm not referring strictly to Snoop Dogg, because actually he's one of the better ones at that. But, I mean, you get people where it's just like 5 minutes of talking before the song even starts.
Nobody has, in the history of music, even people that like U2, has come to a concert and say, man, I hope, especially a local band, I hope those guys talk all night. That's going to be awesome. Like, no, shut up.
Right. I'll tell you, the best attention getter that I've ever come across is, at least for live shows, is...
Human Sacrifice?
No, that not quite. No. I played with the Headcutters up on Coney Island at this club called Cha-Cha's. And what they did is, between bands, they had a stripper get up.
Yes.
And I don't know, Tony, if you were there for this or you were... Right, I think I told you about this.
Well, I've seen burlesque in between at shows, which is just an awesome attention getter.
Right, except that this girl, if let's say that there were 5 bands, between every band she would get up and do a little more. So that you wanted to be there at the end of that 5th band to see
They
what...
were baiting you along.
Yeah, I mean, the clothes were all off by the 4th band. What was she going to do?
Kind of like playing strip poker.
Right. So, yeah, no, I'll tell you, some ideas I wish I had thought of myself. I mean, if I could think of ideas like that consistently, I would be in show business.
Let's get back to the music now. We're going to hear a double shot from Worm, who I'm trying to get into this very studio. Yes, we are in negotiations. Yes, alternative media negotiations. Pretty much which week can you come down and which 6-pack should we have in the fridge. We're going to hear 2 from Worm, starting with Girls in the Mosh Pit right here on The Tony Jones Show.
dark hair, skin tight clothes. We want girls in the mosh pit. We want girls in the mosh pit. We want girls in the mosh pit. We want girls in the mosh pit.
Scarecrow, the name of that one, some Michael Graves right here on the Tony Jones Show off of Night of Sam Hain. Before that, we heard two from Worm, who were trying to get in this very studio. When we chatted, I brought you into Girls in the Mosh Pit. Then after that, Our Roots. You were tuned in to the Tony Jones Show, and unfortunately, we are just about out of time, if you can believe that. We do have two big events coming up, one of them being the Rhode Island Free Radio Anniversary Party. That's going to be happening the Sunday of Labor Day, so stay tuned for all the information on that. And our own George Garner, yes, George Garner's last gasp, not taking a traditional approach to the cliche stupid bachelor party. You're all invited to George Garner's birthday party, bachelor party. There will be no nudity. Well, I might get naked, but that's not confirmed yet. But it's going to be a good old-fashioned heavy metal show.
Nice.
Lots of noise.
So you're all, everybody in our listening audience and across the globe, you're all invited to send George Garner off. The world's oldest living teenager will be tying the knot. You're invited to celebrate.
Okay, what's the date of that?
I don't know. I'm still working on that because
I just wanted to make sure you didn't forget, so I show up.
Being the thrifty person that I am, I'm trying to get us a place where we don't have to pay any money. I'm cheap, folks. Painfully cheap.
Yep. I chose you as best man for a reason, Tony.
There's gonna be a cost savings on a bachelor party. All right, we got to get out of here, guys. Thank you. Facebook.com/Tony Jones. On the almighty Twitter at Tony Jones in RI. Go to TonyJones.org and RIFreeRadio.org. Yes, a perfect song to leave any program with. We're going to hear from Morse and the East Coast. Will You Love Me When I Lose My Mind? Bye, everybody. Bye.
Me when I lose my mind, when I'm eating my Cheerios one at a time, and I look at you now like you're some old friend of mine. We love me when I lose my mind. We love me when I'm barely there. There's a note that I left for you at the foot of the stairs. Said I'll always remember you, though I tend to forget. We love me when I lose my mind. Baby, love, such a strange game. It goes on and on, dusk until dawn, and summer to fall, and frozen in thought. But does it die with mine? Will you love me when I'm bound to die? It's a short while now, as the crows surely fly, and dawn isn't breaking, 'cause I fixed it in the night. We love me when I lose my mind. Baby, love's such a strange game. It goes on and on, from dusk until dawn, and summer to fall, and frozen in thought. But does it die with mine? Does it